What's up, guys? Ben here, bringing you another video today. I don't normally do like these sort of I guess it's kind of roster mania kind of like roster related stuff on the weekend, at least once the season started. But Rambo did go on the Scump Watch Party yesterday and talked about his future with the team. Let's discuss what was said and what I think are next steps for the team to go ahead and move on. All right, so Rambo went on the Optic Scump Watch Party yesterday. I'm recording this on Saturday morning. This is on Friday. And he basically said that he's no longer coaching the team, that he'll try to maybe be involved indirectly. But in terms of day-to-day contact with the team, managing practice, it seems like that role, those responsibilities are no longer on his plate. He says he's going to be doing some content, mainly competitive focused content. You know, I feel like it's kind of unclear what his role is potentially as a GM. So I'm thinking this is a little bit of like a save face sort of maneuver for everybody. Try and find kind of like a safe sort of detente, to use a better word. Try and figure out next steps of Ray, whether that's with the Optic organization, with another team, with Activision, maybe something else. But at the moment, I think the most important piece in what we're going to discuss, I think most relevant to the team, is that he's no longer the coach. And I kind of understand it. You know, Seth kind of talked about, you sort of see him being animated on stream here. He's talking about sort of the whole bowling incident and this and that. And I think really what this all boils down to, beyond the absurdity of all of that, whether or not that's true or not, is that I think when you get to a point where a coach doesn't have the buy-in of all the players, even the players are always going to win that battle. And the organization, we've seen this in pro sports, we see this in esports, they're going to go ahead and make a move. And I think that's what's happened here with Ray, you know, taking a back seat, moving away from that team and kind of moving on to different things with the organization. So right now, JP is the only coach in the room. And I think JP, in terms of, you know, the managing practice side, sort of being a mediator, letting the team develop, providing, you know, statistics and analytics and helping them kind of understand the trends of their team in real time. He's very good at it. I've respected that guy for a long time, even when he was at Activision, working on the broadcast team for MLG. He's obviously done that quite a bit as well the first couple of years in the CDL with New York. And I think him on the Optic organization is a big add. And I think the players definitely buy in. But my worry with sort of him being the solo coach right now is it's a lot of responsibility. There's potential burnout. And the last thing this Optic team needs is for JP to feel like he can't do all the things he needs to do to get them in a championship contender, considering you look at LA Thieves and New York, A's. You know, these are teams that have multiple coaches. So I think the rest of this video, I want to talk about what resources they can add around this team. To me, they can really go in sort of two paths. One is bring on additional analysts, whether that's someone to help JP with data collection, or someone to like kind of take on the S&D only plate. You know, we've seen that that's a successful route with players, former kind of S&D stars or current S&D stars, depending on how you look at it, with guys like Tupac getting involved with organizations and really helping them improve their S&D and win chips. Obviously, in terms of like a pure data analyst, there's a lot of them floating around on Twitter and out there, and they can go down that path. And again, take a lot of the data accumulation, sort of nitty gritty stuff, the reporting kind of packaging away from JP so you can focus on more big picture stuff. And that's also a path. The thing for me that I'm going to be very interested in to see sort of at this major is how JP handles team talks, whether that's before the match or on stage, and whether or not they may want to bring in sort of, I don't want to call it like a vibes coach, but sort of like what Shane does with Thieves. I think someone that's really good at pushing the right buttons with the players to get them in the best mental state. That might be like a really good route for Optic to go down in terms of an addition to their coaching staff. So let's talk about some potential individuals who I think might be able to sort of check that box. So I think we talk like kind of short-term, long-term options, and I'll explain why the long-term in a second, because some of the best stuff for them may be current players in the CDL. So there's a couple of interesting options. You know, people are going to say, oh, like, what about Parasite? What about Crim6? I think when we have this conversation with this team, you need to understand kind of the players on the squad, what XCO plus Dashy like kind of want in that type of coach. So when we bring in a former player who's really abrasive or kind of clashes with people in the way that Parasite has done his career, although I know that Chris is still playing, or say Porter, like I don't, or AK Crim6. You know, I don't think Crim6 or Parasite's really going to fit kind of the vibe of this team. And I just think, you know, I think there might be some tension. So you want to get a player or former player that I think really fits that kind of mental vibe. So I think there are, weirdly enough, maybe some potential options within the org, which is Damon. I think almost like if you kind of talk to Damon in like what's a really good team talk, team vibes role, if he's willing to sit down, watch practice every day, learn the game, really help them kind of with those team talks and events and travel. Like, I think Damon could be a really good kind of spot option for them short term. I think those guys probably respect him. You've heard him on streams. He's pretty funny. Like, I think he's charismatic enough to carry weight. Obviously, Seth could do it too. And that would be very interesting to see Seth go on stage and give sort of the pre-match team talks, considering he's going to be going to all the events. I think that would be a very interesting fit if they're looking for something on that front. Some other kind of potential options that I think are sort of floating around the challenger space right now. I would love to see Nagafin actually potentially an option for this team. I know Naga's been coaching Fellows team. Naga's also got that kind of like nerdy sort of same sort of grinder vibe, sort of deep dive, really likes to find sort of the exploitable stuff in the game. And I think that might be a good fit for what we see Shotzi do. I know Kyler's really into that stuff. Same with Ender. So that might be a really interesting vibe. But the problem, I think, is sort of outside a lot of that. I don't really think there's a lot of sort of other great options that I think that would kind of fit the vibe of this team. Now, long term, I think there are potentially some current players in the CDL who might retire. It might be a really good long-term fit for this coaching staff. For me, I think the player immediately that comes to mind, depending on how things go down at Seattle this season, is accuracy. I think Lamar's got a really good, bright future in coaching if he wants to go down that route. I think he's a really good motivator. I think that Lamar, aka Accuracy, is also very good at getting his teams a little bit of structure, but also allowing the players that like to play a free role do that thing. Like, think about what he did to Pharaoh's career, what he did to Kenny's career, what he's done to Dante, aka Sib, what he's done to Pred. This guy has a Mac as another example. Like, this is a guy who takes a lot of that talent and kind of gives them building blocks in order to play structured Call of Duty, but also like gives them the freedom to go rogue within their system. So I think he could be a potential really good long-term option a year from now or so if he decides to hang it up. I got another interesting one. Again, former player or current player who might be a former player at some point down the line, and I know probably thinking about what he wants to do next, would be Clayster. I think Clay has obviously had a history with the Optic Gaming organization. He's won with them before, and specifically with these players, he's won with them in recent years, winning a world championship. I know at times Clay can be abrasive in the way that Crimsix can, but I think he handles the interpersonal stuff probably a little bit better. And in a coaching role, in the same thing as accuracy, I think he's going to be good at that sort of identifying trends and really helping along with practice. He's already got chemistry with JP from his days on New York. So I think Clay could be a very interesting fit long-term with this roster if you wanted to get in with coaching. But I got to be honest, chat, outside of those two, and I mean, we could talk about players I think that could be good motivators, you know, if they're unattached to teams like Classic. We could talk about methods, although I don't think that Zen maybe wants to get into a coaching gig. The problem for Optic is that this is going to be a tough team to find a coach to pair with for people that are not already attached to current orgs. So I think for now, JP's probably going to be running solo and maybe get some back-end analyst help. But I'd be very surprised if we see them hire a full-time coach. Again, I could see like maybe Seth going on stage and giving some team talks at times, or maybe Karma. But I think for now, we're going to see JP run solo, and we'll see who kind of fills Rambo's shoes long-term with the organization. So yeah, those are my initial thoughts on the situation. Obviously, I kind of feel for everyone involved. And I think a big learning lesson here is I feel like the messaging aspect on this all got kind of messed up. Keeping in mind that, you know, Dashy got dropped, and then Dashy went on stream and kind of exposed this whole sort of tension between the coaching staff and the players. And then when they couldn't get Pred, they decided to bring Dashy back. And I think that sort of put the coaching thing back on the table. So I think for everybody involved, it sort of was sort of a murky thing. And I also think it was a little bit funky that they kind of waited until now to adjust the Rambo situation. I don't know why they wouldn't have done it like a week ago and stayed ahead of the story, but Optic's done this in the past, and it seems to be sort of a direct strategy they do whenever things like this happen. They sort of wait a week or so, and then they kind of get people on a podcast or on video that kind of talk about it, kind of put down the audience a little bit, and then they kind of move on from that because they close all this stuff. I don't always agree with that PR strategy, but that's what they've done in the past, and it's what they did here. So let me know in the comments what you guys think about all of this, what you think Optic should do about coaching going forward. Like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe for more. We're going to be doing some recap cup stuff from this week of the major qualifiers. It's shaping up to be a really exciting one. And then we got Boston next week. I'm excited to pull up there on Tuesday and start working on stuff for you guys with the flank live from Boston. As always, guys, we will see you in the next video.